It's April 24th, 2022. Linda and I were watching Jane Pauley this morning on CBS Mornings for some clues or some pieces of important American feature, like prominent, they used to call them prominent figure in, like, Providencio. They don't, again, it's like I feel like this is almost, if I speak in a war theater, it makes more sense. I don't know who in the mythical spatial of they, with no real teeth or face on it necessarily. Whatever they have, whoever they is, it has access to communications of what's allowed into the state of New York, into the Empire State, into the Big Apple, on the regular networks or the low networks. They're the high tier networks here, but 2, 4, 5, 7 are the real communications, whatever. They're the prominent ones, I thought. And so I'm looking at it, and they don't even communicate the prominent figures, not just in the Big Apple, not in just the state of New York, but in the lower 48. They sometimes show on all these maps like we are one, in a sense. Like there's the smaller puzzle pieces, then there's the larger nation or country puzzle piece, but they don't show who the prominent figures are that are shaping this area, this territory, this anything. So there's no faces or names. So I'm watching this morning, and Jane Pauley was, again, I say it as if she's the only one in charge of, I know has to be like a whole back staff and executive schedule. They've got to put things on, get approvals. I'm sure there's like a whole lot that goes into it. But just as like trying to figure out the world through this one portal to other people, like communications with other humans that are responsible for this area, and the fact of what I'm seeing showing up on the streets being a big problem, and the amount of communication with ways to help myself and my children, and who to reach out to ask for help with perhaps employment, or like a letter of recommendation, or some foundation, or somewhere to even connect with society and learn who the prominent figures would. Social ladders and bridges were totally collapsed by 1978 when I arrived. Linda did not have, through Lou, Linda was able to get somewhere, like some face-to-face time. Not that I think that she knows who anybody was. But there was no transference of, and then through, I believe, Vicky and Ada, my Italians, when I was younger, there were some trips that they would take me on. I don't have access to those memories. I can't recall of who they were, but there's been over the decades, there's been no reinforcement of the most crucial names of the founders, of the origins, of the ancestors, of the people, the driving forces, the ones that have a vision and have a say, and the ones that whatever. So I'm watching this, and there's a woman who comes on, I had never heard of before. She goes by the name of Walton, Walton. This is not a household name in New York that Lynn's ever spoken of. I don't hear it actively on the television. I see that they had a 5 and dime. Those words I still remember. I think there was something called Woolworth here when I first arrived. Since then, they've gone out of business. I don't know if there's any relation. There's been no talk of it. But the Waltons, I have heard, and I don't know from where. I call it a hole in space and time. When the machine was working and I was able to get somewhere, and people were very kind to explain who they were, and how to remember bridges through the decades and through the broken machine, for building purposes, of what was established when I got here. There was a TV show with the name Walton. I don't know the name of the TV show. I asked Linda. Linda does not. Linda's like, oh yeah, that's Goodnight Ma, Goodnight Pa, Goodnight this one, this. And then they went through a list of names. And it was in the black and white era before it went to Technicolor on the big screen. And then, I mean, I feel like once it went to Technicolor, the bottom blew out of the entire whatever, for whatever reason. Being able to find socially prominent and respectable and large names, there's no publication for this that I'm aware of. When I go into the local areas, there's a newspaper, there's the tabloids, which I don't really follow because those are like the Hollywood celebrities, and they say the most horrid things about them, but they're in some entertainment field or circus of some sort. And I don't want to learn the wrong history of them. And then there's the local news of what the political circus is up to, which is the more concerning of what's blown in like weeds from afar. What did shipping and containment fail on policy-wise is what I'm finding in the New York area inside these publications. So that becomes hard because these are not prominent historical families in these publications, but they're minute problems that are the top of the local manifestations or infestations, if you will, since they're not, I mean, so it's like, it just feels like it's just broken apart, and I'm grappling with trying to find main key figures, but then even in like a 10-day, not even, sometimes a 1-day window, it's like the name will be totally erased. Walton, I'm lucky because it's got this TV show I can actually reference with Lynn, and she can remind me again. It's this weird, it's like this social disability I have. Not because I asked for it, not because I wanted it, but it's like a curse I feel, but by whom, I don't know. And so I'm grappling with anchor points and trying to find and quantify, like, I mean, where do you go for help? That have people who know things and who are the driving forces to let them know how some of the pieces and ancestors that don't have driving force, like whatever, how they're suffering, and perhaps there's something that is integrated between the really, really top and the really, really bottom that needs to be fixed somehow for everybody in between that falls in the category of whatever we are. So this is what they put on this morning. Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art. And it's on this particular station. That's the producer.
When Crystal Bridges opened in 2011, the most beautiful museum filled with the best art the second richest woman in the world could buy. Her fortune currently estimated at over $68 billion.
The slight curve gives you the ability to see all the paintings.
Designed by architect Moshe Safdie, Crystal Bridges includes actual bridges.
These names, because of the social, like, whatever I'm stuck underneath, are not household names in order to, like, pay tribute by name recognition. But that's an even more scary, that's an even more scary actuality is how diluted this area's population is. That they don't, I mean, I wouldn't know where to even begin to find the prominent heads of household or the prominent figures to call to their attention and ask how I could be helpful in some manner or fashion in orchestrating or organizing something. I mean, for health purposes, one, but also for what's going on that will affect not just this generation, but several. Since at some point there's got to be a legality issue, I couldn't figure out where. But I found it interesting that today they would put that particular name in there. Here, when I was growing up, it was Thomas Edison for Con Edison for the lighting company, and it was Rockefeller. Those are the two names. I mean, again, in New York anyway. But I don't know, like, do these families still exist? Like, how do you find them? Do they find you? I mean, are they part of national security? Because I'm afraid, like, where does one go? I don't hear on the television their names in a constant reinforcement. I don't see faces. I also don't hear out in public anybody really speak of them anymore. It's gone kind of silent, which really frightens me at national security level. Like, who are the driving forces protecting us, and where did they all go? So I want to pause this for 1 sec. Now this is what's even more scary. So I found this on the program. I found, or they showed me, however, the language is really non-important for my purpose. And then it fast forward to I only use YouTube and the Facebook. The YouTube and the Facebook for the one light use, whatever, to try to find one channel of communication. So the YouTube, there's 4-letter key-op words out in the universe that are incredibly important within the one structure that I was taught in the local school. RYAN happens to be one of them. And lo and behold, today, on the same program as the, and again, in respectful terms, they did not even refer to her. They just said Walton as like a passing way of explaining who she is. So I don't know if it's Miss or Mrs. Again, I don't know how to show respect in that aspect, but for the woman, for the lady Walton or the woman Walton, earlier, they then go to this YouTube phenomenon that's going on, which is really like very perverse, and it feels like exploiting in like the most harmful way. There's an identity thievery of those 4 glyphs, GLIFFS, put together as RYAN. They made this whole franchise out of Ryan's World, but the face that they used for this Ryan's World is really frightening at Rock, Paper, and Scissors Council. When the world breaks and you go to a space between here and there, or you just, like a UFO, like aliens just abduct you kind of a thing. So the RYAN is a really scary, identifiable identity theft or thievery within the 26 set of glyphs that are used for the main communications within the America and within the American Art Project of North America, being that whoever gained access to using those 4 characters are not visually what those 4 characters acronym out to in other area for identifications, which leads to wars in most instances.
YouTube launched nearly 20 years ago with the motto, broadcast yourself. Millions have, and some, like the family Luke Burbank introduces us to, have made millions doing it.
Now, I use YouTube to document what's going on in this area. They're using YouTube in a totally different manner. This is all of their success, and they've made millions in it, and I don't know how to franchise whatever. But it's 2 totally different ways to use the exact same platform.
It's a typical Sunday afternoon for the Kaji family of Honolulu, Hawaii. They're playing a game, recording it on Mom's phone, having fun. But what's not typical is that when they're finished,
Turn around.
they'll send the video to a production team in Houston who will edit and package it as part of a multi-million-dollar kids' entertainment empire.
Welcome to Ryan's World!
That's where it's a problem, which is known about
Entertainment empire.
in adult world and in Empire. These characters have a different ideology and a different symbology that they are articulated with. I don't understand how this was franchised and packaged and brought to the public in this USA with, I mean, it doesn't make sense. Where is the oversight? Where is the shutting this down before it goes multi-million-dollar franchise when the symbols are not matching the people asking to use them?
Welcome to Ryan's World! Hi,
Their content on YouTube gets billions of views per month. They've got a TV show on Nickelodeon.
They could have picked any 4 symbols. They could have been either assigned the correct symbols. That would have been the best way to go if they were asking permission to have all of this with franchise and millions of dollars being made, because on YouTube itself, there's no money. There's you, a camera, and whatever you're taping and uploading. There's no guarantee of being found, of having money on the way the system's designed in New York City, in New York State, in the Empire State, in the Big Apple. It's just a platform. It's just a way, like a cloud house, to put MP4s. That's it. It takes somebody finding some example and then some work around or overreach and some assignment of the wrong characters and the wrong glyphs being combined. And now all of a sudden you have a communications nightmare on your hands. And they've been doing this for decades.
And of course, the licensed toys. So many toys.
I forgot to go grocery shopping!
All of it generating, by some estimates, over $25 million a year, making the Kajis some of YouTube's highest earners.
Hi, Mommy!
And it all started out, more or less, by accident, when Ryan was just 3.
When I first put up the video, I didn't think anything of it.
Luann Kaji is Ryan's mom.
And I tried to share it with my friends and family because, you know, we both have a lot of family members outside of U.S.
It's a dog!
But today, that video meant for relatives has over 52 million views. Did you have any theories as to why it was that these videos that you were making were so popular?
I think the authenticity is definitely the number one factor. Probably mostly because we film at home and we don't have script line by line.
Before long, Luann...
Is this part of the gerrymandering problem? Just curious. Along with the influx of these electronic devices that also have a 5-glyph problem at the moment within this U.S.A. Just curious, because they're all related somehow in problems that are local, are plaguing the health and safety, since nobody's really addressing it and informing someone how to keep safe, while all of this just goes on as if it's not dangerous, doesn't look dangerous. They don't seem dangerous. It's the people working other systems somewhere else that I can't see, touch, or hear that then becomes national security concern for myself and my person. But where is my advisor? Where is somebody to look up to? Where is the hand to hold? There are none in this area. That's what's being withheld. In a U.S. standard system, they would say my Title IX's been violated for many years.
Luann and her husband Sean had quit their day jobs to start a family YouTube business, which eventually led them to Carrie Tucker.
We take the world's biggest YouTube kid stars and turn them into global franchises.
Tucker is the chief.
Why? Why not just let YouTube be one level of communication without a franchise involved? Who allowed this YouTube to go so virally public, to steal identity, to use whatever symbol it damn well pleased? It's a security concern at such an integral level, but I don't see anybody addressing it.
Chief marketing officer at Pocket Watch, a sort of old school Hollywood studio system for a very new school kind of content.
This Generation Alpha, only knows a world with YouTube and mobile devices.
I've never even heard of Generation Alpha. That's something they just made up.
Mobile devices. The way we think about it is Pocket Watch wants to be everywhere the kids are.
Tucker has helped inflate the Kaji's brand, literally.
In New York, there's baby boomers, there's Generation X, which is what I am, there's Generation Y, which is Benjamin, asking himself, why the hell did you bring me into this? Yeah, kiddo, I'm getting to that. And then there's Generation Z, which is my youngest, of like...
From the Macy's Day Parade to toy aisles everywhere. Is this sort of like the Wall of Ryan merch?
No, the Wall of Ryan would be much, much bigger.
You might think a kid with his own line of toys and more daily viewers than most TV networks let it go to his head. But it turns out Ryan is just like lots of other 10-year-olds.
Hi, Luke.
Mostly, he wanted to talk about the video games he likes. So you're a big, like, Roblox and Minecraft guy?
Yeah.
And he doesn't even know what CBS is. He's just not a watcher.
Do you have any advice for me as a broadcaster about how I can get more people to watch the stuff that I'm making?
I guess, I think you should just, like, keep doing it and wait it out, and eventually maybe it will blow up. I mean...
See, now, he's considered a broadcaster, and he's got whatever he's got in network already established for him. The YouTuber had to have some kind of outside source company included in broadcasting, might I add, because they just jumped off in some kind of meander way to then offer franchise to the nobody, and then to bring it out in such a way that then it's like instant fame and popularity. The celebrity and the studios have been using meandering off of a very sacred process that they've, I don't know, stolen from perhaps in some way in order to perform in the way that this whatever is working.
YouTube is kind of partially luck, so.
Partially luck?
Yeah.
How do you mean?
Because people, like...
It's not partially luck. It's a tube that goes to one storage space in the cloud someone's monitoring for very specific whatever. And then they either offer you a franchise or they don't, and you get lost in the minutia of the non-essential equipment.
Oh.
Or they exploit you, try to data farm you, try to take your ideas, your identity, whatever clues and Easter eggs you had or were born with, and your like entire mental portfolio, and they try to repackage or rebrand it as their own.
To find your videos, and then it gets on a lot of people's recommended and stuff.
Would you mind recommending my show on one of your videos? Try to help us out.
Maybe. What's it called?
It's called CBS Sunday Morning.
CBS Sunday Morning.
Can you work that into one of your videos?
Maybe.
Okay, thank you.
It started.
It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.